it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey guys, hey everybody, and welcome to today's John A. McCabe show. I want to thank you very much for joining me live, and just to let you know, I am running solo today. Margaret is, her hiatus is over, so I'm now not only the host, but I'm the producer. So if you see me reaching for a mouse or my laptop, it's just to move to the next shot or check something out. So welcome again to the John A. McCabe show, where they'll let just about anybody with a camera, a mic, and stream it live to Facebook and name the show after themselves. So today's show is all about how you can position yourself as the authority by becoming a #1 best-selling author in 14 days or less. And I know what you're thinking. There's just no way that I can do that in 14 days, or that I'm not someone that can actually write a book, or I don't know how to write a book. I'm not an author. I don't know that I know enough to, put into a book. Now, a couple things that I can tell you is, one, for sure you can do it in 14 days or less, because the second book I wrote, from the time I actually started creating the book until it was a #1 best-selling author, till it was #1 best-selling in Canada and the US, was 11 days. So from the time I actually had the thought in my mind to it being a #1 best-selling book was 11 days. That's how long it took me. And I'm a guy that barely passed English in high school, and when I went to university, I just barely squeaked by the one creative writing class that I was forced to take in university. So if it's one of those things that you say, if I can do it, anybody can do it, and that's actually the truth. Now, if you joined us on a previous show, we had Keith Shannon on, and Keith was a #1 best-selling book, and his book was only 10 pages long. So it doesn't have to be a novel. The book doesn't have to be a novel. The book is used as a positioning tool as you, the expert or the authority in your field, who is looking to create a strategic advantage over your competition. Maybe you're looking to attract some new clients. Maybe you're looking to distinguish yourself from the rest of the people in your field or in your space. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to become a best-selling author, to write a book, become a best-selling author, and to build a platform around being that best-selling author, to use that book to get you in places like radio, TV, newspapers, and use it as a tool to get you in the door in a lot of different places. If I haven't said so already, my name is John McCabe, and welcome to the John A. McCabe show, where it's all about accelerating your authority. And if you haven't done so already, just like, share, comment on this video, share it to your friends. I have the Facebook here in front of me, so I'm just going to quickly go down and see who we have on today. And this is a Q&A show. I'm going to give some great valuable information, but at the same time, it's there for you guys to ask any questions you want about how to become a best-selling author, what the strategies are, what the steps are. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to walk through a few of the steps to not only becoming a best-selling author, but how to use this in a particular platform so you can produce your book, you can publish your book, and you can actually profit from your book. So you're going to build a platform and use it to help you sell your products or your services. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the show. If you haven't done so, like I said, like, share, comment on this video, but I'm going to get into what it takes to actually become a #1 best-selling author and how you can do it in 14 days or less, and how you can actually use it to build a platform to actually sell your products or services. So the ultimate goal is to get people to know you, to like you, and to trust you, and position yourself, in as many places as possible as a recognized expert in your field. Okay? So you're going to want to build and develop your platform. All the people who know, like, and trust you, your list of prospects, your customers, your influence, you want to reach them through your lists, media, and connections, your products and your services, your unique story, and your ability to share and tell it in a compelling and enthusiastic way is the key. So let's just get started. The first thing you do, like I said, is you need to position yourself. And by positioning yourself, one of the main things you want to do is create your hook in your story. It's your why as well as your what. So why is it that you're doing this, and what is it that you're doing it, and what is it that you're doing, and who are you doing it for? So, it's your personal narrative. You really want to focus on getting people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. And when it comes to your story, it's your primary vehicle to relating to and connecting with what we call your ideal target market. It's the people that you actually want to do business with. And it's getting them, I'm going to say this over and over, it's getting them to know you, to like you, and to trust you. And I'm just going to refresh my page here. So when you're doing that, you actually want to talk to the one. You'll actually want to talk to one person when you're writing. It's as if you're writing to somebody that you're actually speaking to. So it's done in a very singular voice. So when somebody reads it, they think that you're talking specifically to them. Okay? So you don't use things like we and they. You'll want to use things like you and me. So it's a very personal. When you're telling your story, it's a very personal thing to the reader. So, like I said, talk to the one, write your story for your perfect customer, your ideal target market, and then practice delivering it as if you're only talking to him or her. So when you're telling your story, just practice it over and over, so it sounds like you're just talking to that one person. So if someone was actually sitting in front of you, they would feel that you're talking directly to them. And that's how you want to write your story when it comes to creating your story. What is it that you want to be known for? So it's still part of your story. What is it that you want to be known for? Your story needs to your story needs to be back to the theme of sort of why are you writing this book? So obviously you're writing this book in the business space to get more clients, to be recognized in your field, to be the authority in your marketplace. So if you're doing that, even in your story, you want to relate it back to becoming the expert or the authority. Make sure that you have a clear structure, but when you're writing it, use as many emotional events as you possibly can in your business, when you're talking about your business and in your life, because it's people buy based on emotion. So you want to have as much emotion in your book as possible, and that's going to capture the reader and draw them into your story much better. So when I wrote my first book, actually I made a purpose of, in every single chapter that I wrote the first book, is I told a personal story or a story that's related to that particular chapter of me and my particular business, or what I did and the situation. But it was a real life story, and I made it in such a way that somebody who's reading the book can almost picture themselves in that particular situation. Okay, so you definitely want to tie that in. So that's creating your hook in your story. The next thing is creating your positioning content, your bio, and your platform. Now, a bio is a simple, let me see, whoops, sorry, I've got a couple things going on here. So your bio is a simple and concise story based on the summary of who you are and what you do and your qualifications, based on your experience and your background, that sort of thing. So you definitely want to make sure that you have your bio in there, include your website, your URL, social media links, business contact information, include professional experiences and credentials, focus on the facts and the results. So what people received when you actually work with them, any honors or awards that you actually received as in doing this type of business, the business that you're in. So one of the things that you would want to do within each particular chapter of your book is definitely having a call to action. So having links to your URL, getting people to connect with you, not just in the book, but offline as well. Now, you're also going to want to have some keywords, that need to be topic specific, basically specific to whatever topic or whatever industry that you're focused on. Books and product titles: simple, compelling, benefit driven. Unique selling proposition is what you need. So ensuring that you have that unique selling proposition. So basically that boils down to, it's a very simple formula. I teach X to Y even if Z. So what that means is I teach a segment of the population, so a very specific segment of the population. I teach them to do this, or I help them do this specific thing, even if and whatever their challenge or their struggle is. So for example, in one of the spaces that I'm in, the real estate investing space, is I help people become homeowners and get into their first home even if they don't have the full down payment or the credit the banks require. So that is your sort of unique selling proposition. So you have to make sure that you actually put that in there. And that's going to be part of your positioning as well. So you also want to, and I just realized that I am way too dull in this video. I need to liven things up a bit. So yeah, so becoming a best-selling author in 14 days or less. So I can go on and on about what it is you need to do, how you actually do it, and but here's the facts. Most of you that watch this video probably aren't going to do it. So even though I can create all this content and put it out there, you're probably not going to do it. So this is a Q&A question. This is a Q&A. I'm going to continue to go through it. I don't want to drone on though about this information. So let's get into why you want to become a best-selling author, and I'm just going to quickly brush through how you do it, and you let me know if you have any specific questions, because I can go on, and I can teach this subject, and I can I work with people that want to become best-selling authors on a regular basis. So if you actually want to become a best-selling author, leave a question for me, like, share, comment on this video, and I'll actually answer your questions because it is a Q&A. But bottom line is, basically you need to really determine what it is that you, I always start with the end in mind. So you're going to write this book because you're actually into business and you want to actually sell more of your products, more of your services. You want to reach a specific clientele, and you just want to be recognized, so it's much easier to get leads, opportunities, and so you can make more money. That's bottom line why people do this. There is a small amount of ego involved, but for the most cases, when you're actually writing a book specifically to get business, it's less about ego and more about just the strategy behind it. So I'm going to talk about the strategy. Sort of done, if you want to know more about actually the structure of the books and how you actually put it together, please send me a message or leave a comment and I'll actually get into that. But I'm going to actually talk about the strategy, and I'll talk about how you can do it very quickly so that you can make it happen in 14 days or less. What I'm going to do is actually talk about how I did it and in 11 days. So I think that's probably the most beneficial, rather than me actually just trying to teach shit that nobody wants to hear anyway. So if you want to hear it, PM me, direct message me, and I'll get into a conversation about it. But the strategy behind becoming a best-selling author is this. You want to sell more stuff. Bottom line, you want to make it easier to sell more stuff. You want to reach more people so that you can help people change their lives for whatever you're doing. Maybe you're a realtor, maybe you're a mortgage broker, maybe you're a health coach, maybe you're a personal trainer, maybe you have a company that sells clothing, maybe you are a restaurant, maybe you're a chef. It doesn't really matter what the business is. You can leverage and sell more of your products and services by becoming a best-selling author. And so it's really a strategy. And it's a strategy if you're a salesperson, it's a strategy to get your foot in the door of large corporations and being able to get those meetings that you're having a hard time getting past the gatekeeper. So let's talk about building the platform and the strategy first. So you always start with the end in mind. What is the end goal of writing this book? Okay, you want to sell more products and services. So what is your product or service, and who is it for? So you need to be very clear on your ideal target market, the pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions that they're faced with. So if you don't know who your ideal target market is, you're not very clear on what struggles, hurdles, challenges that they have, and how your program, solution, service, product can benefit them, then don't even start writing the book. Put the pen down, get away from the typewriter. Typewriter, who uses those anymore? Get away from the keyboard, and until you actually figure that out, don't even bother, because you're just going to waste your time and your message is going to get lost in a bunch of words that mean absolutely nothing. So get very clear on that. So if you are very clear on your ideal target market, pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions, and you know how your product or service or solution can help them, then what you need to do is actually think about it this way. You need to frame your product or service or solution around their problem. By framing it around the problem, you're sort of inviting them or leading them down the path to come to the conclusion that you can help them, because they know what their problem is. A lot of times they know what their problem is. Sometimes they don't know what the problem is, and you actually have to make them aware that they have this problem, and then lead them down the path to the ultimate solution, which is working with you, buying your product X, or shopping in your store, or eating at your restaurant, or whatever it is. So once you're clear on the pains, fears, frustrations, ambitions, and then you know how your solution works around that and is able to answer those questions, then it's very easy to map out the book, because the book is just taking the reader on a journey to coming to the conclusion at the end of the book that they need to pick up the phone and call you, go to your website, get more information, or work with you, or buy your stuff, or go to your store, or whatever. So the book is the journey to get the person to take action. So how do you do that? Well, you need to be clear on the problems that you're solving for them and the benefits that these people are going to receive by the solution. So you take your solution and you break it down into what are the benefits of your solution. What benefit do they give your ideal target market? What benefit are they going to receive from actually using your product or service, eating at your restaurant, buying your clothes, shopping in your store, hiring you as a coach, as a consultant? What's the benefit that they're actually going to receive? So once you're very clear on the benefits that they can receive, then what you need to do is actually break those benefits down, and you can make them as specific chapters of the book, so that you're talking about, each book talks about a benefit that they receive, and these are all, the total benefits are the reason why they would be using your product or service. So breaking it down into all of these different benefits. So let's say that you have they receive 5 different benefits that for using your product or service, coming to your restaurant, your your clothing store, whatever, it doesn't matter, but they receive those specific benefits. So now you have to also think about, what objections do you get on a regular basis? So what are the objections that you hear from your clients or your target market all the time, that you're constantly overcoming these objections? And now what you do is you actually write about these objections in your book, but you call them myths. So let's say the 3 myths that people have when it comes to, say, rent to own, for example, because that's the space, I know it very well. So the 3 myths that people have when it comes to rent to own. So these actually myths are objections. So you talk about the myth the same way that you would overcome the person's objection when you're talking to them in person, but you frame it as a myth. So your book is overcoming the objections by talking about these myths, and it's talking about the actual benefits they receive by using your product or service. And all throughout the book, you're actually taking them on a journey to the conclusion that they need to buy your stuff, shop in your store, eat at your restaurant, hire you as a coach, hire you as a consultant. So the book just sort of leads them down that garden path to the oasis at the end, which is you. Okay? So you're answering the objections by calling them out as myths. You're talking about the benefits of your product or service or solution, and you're framing it around the problems. Okay? So that can help create the content for your book. Now, another strategy that made famous by one of my coaches, it's called the 10 by 10 by 4. And that's made famous by Mike Koenigs. And what that means is the 10 most frequently asked questions, the 10 questions your ideal client should be asking. Okay? So if you actually list the 10 frequently asked questions and the 10 questions that they should be asking, create those questions, come up with the answers, that can actually be the content for your book. So you have a couple different strategies as to creating the content. You can talk about the benefits and the myths, or you can do a 10 frequently asked questions, 10 should ask questions when it comes to your product, your service, your solution, your store, whatever it is. So those are two very distinctive ideas when it comes to creating your content. So if I came to you and I said, what your product or service, give me the 5 to 7 benefits I would receive by working with you or buying your stuff or whatever it is. And I'm quite sure you could rhyme off 5 to 7 different benefits that I would receive. I say, okay, well, what challenge does your product, service, solution overcome in your clients? So you would actually be able to tell me what the challenge is. So you now have the challenge, you understand the challenge, you have the benefits you receive, so you can actually talk about the benefits around that challenge. So if we were to actually sit and have a conversation, I'm quite sure that within a period of 2 hours, you could walk me through the benefits I'm going to receive by using your solution. You're going to overcome all the objections I could come up with, and you could, because you've probably heard them a dozen times or more. So usually price is one of them, or I don't think I can do that. Here's the objections to being a best-selling author. Okay, I'm not a writer. Well, what if I went like this? You know, one of the number one myths about being a number one best-selling author is people think that they actually have to know how to write. And I'm here to tell you that you actually don't even have to know how to write or use a typewriter or a computer, even if you have no pen or paper, because you're able to actually create content without even knowing how to write. So there's strategies around doing that where you can actually just record yourself talking, very much like this video. You just record yourself talking, having a conversation. Maybe you pull out your phone. Nowadays, every iPhone or every smartphone has a recording device, and you just start talking to your phone, coming up with the question, the objection, the question, the answer, the objection, the myth, overcoming that challenge, talking about the benefits. And by doing that, you have actually created an audio file for your book. And nowadays you can actually take those files, upload them to a website called Fiverr, Fiverr.com, and for $5 for 10 minutes, people will actually transcribe your audio into Word format. So when people say that, oh, I don't know how to, I can't be a best-selling author because I'm not very good at writing. Well, you don't actually have to know how to write. You just you just have to know your product, your service, your solution, be able to talk about it, the frequently asked questions and answers, the should ask questions and answers, or the benefits and overcoming myths. Talk about it, send it out to get it transcribed. Once it's transcribed, you get it back, you piece it together in the format that you want to see it, then you send it to an editor. You can go to the same website, send it to an editor. There's all kinds of people on there that will edit your book very quickly, and they'll actually edit it so that they fix all the grammar, the structure, so it's actually like somebody who's a writer actually wrote the book. So typically you'll want to go through one or two different editing processes, pick a couple different people, and run it through there. So now that you created the content for your book, because we talked about the purpose, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about creating your book within 14 days or less, the structure, the purpose, why you're doing it. And definitely like, share, comment on this, and leave a question for me. I started this video teaching, and then it's like, screw that. Nobody wants to hear me drone on, so I'm just going to sort of tell my story of how I actually did it. And if you want very specifics, leave questions. I'll answer the specifics in the question format when you actually leave questions or comments on the Facebook post. Or if you're not watching this in Facebook, you're watching it on the website, you can just email me the questions or direct message me the questions. So now that you've created your content, you use your phone, you come up with the frequently asked questions, the should ask questions and answers, you talk them into your phone, or the benefits and the objections, which are myths. So you talked about those that's going to create your content, and you structure it in such a way that when the reader reads the book, that as they go through the journey of your content, they get to the conclusion where they should actually be dealing with you or working with you. Okay. So now that you have, sorry, I have to, there's some things I'm doing with my hands that I actually have to stop doing. I was told that I need to stop doing them, so it's a harder habit to break than I anticipated. But so what you need to be doing is, okay, so you've sent it out to Fiverr to get edited. So while it's being edited, what you need to do is come up with the title and the subtitle for your book. The title's typically less important than the subtitle. The subtitle is really talks directly to your ideal target market, their pain, fear, frustration, or ambition, and how this book is going to help them overcome those challenges. So it speaks directly to them. The title is less important. But there are some great title examples, like, for example, there's some formulas, a lot of great title formulas. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can just take out the 7, and so you could say the 5 keys of building wealth. I just came up with that. Or the 3 flavors in a amazing souffle, or something like that. So, you know, that could be the name of the book, but the subtitle is really geared towards who your ideal target market is, what the pain, fear, frustration, or ambition is that they're seeking help for, and how reading this book is going to offer them the solution. That is the biggest key. And you actually want to look up some keyword phrases that these people may be looking into. Okay, so now you have your title of your book, you have the subtitle, and usually you can come up with 10, 20 ideas fairly quickly, and you just narrow it down to 1. So once you actually have that, then on that same website, I'm just going to keep using the same website, fiverr.com, because I'm sure I know I did my entire book using people on Fiverr.com, and it probably just costs, you know, between $100 and $200 total to get help to do my book. So I actually came up with the structure. I knew what the end goal of my second book was, to sell marketing systems to real estate investors. So I walked them through the journey of how, if they used this strategy and use how they could actually build their own system. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I have one that's already built. But I walked them through the steps that they need to take in order to build their own system. So taking them to the conclusion that, hey, it's too much work for me and I'm not that techie and I don't know that stuff. Why don't I just buy the system or lease the system? Because he's shown me in the book how much money I can make by doing this. And by utilizing this strategy and this system, you know, I have a good idea of how much money I can make, and I know what's involved when it comes to the marketing aspect and building an online system and a marketing system. So he's told me how to do it and all about doing it, but at the end of the day, I just want somebody to do it for me, so I'll just use the system. So that was the end goal. So while you have people on Fiverr that are editing your book, you've now sent out to a few. I would recommend finding 5 or 6 people and different people to do your cover and pick the best one. So you spend $5 to each person, 5 different people. You figure out which is the best cover, and then once you find the best cover, then you go back to that person to get it basically in the CreateSpace format and the Kindle format. So once you get the editing copy back for your book. This is the edited text for your book, and you've proofread it. You've had somebody else proofread it, and it looks good to you. But maybe you've done 2 or 3 rounds of editing. That's okay. If you just joined us, please like, share, comment. I'm talking about the process to writing a best-selling book in 14 days or less. Leave questions in the comment field, and I'll definitely answer those. Right now, I'm at the stage of using outsourcers to take your content and actually get it transcribed and get it edited. And now we're on talking about getting the books covers done. And the next thing is, once you get your text back and you're comfortable with the text, then on that same website, find somebody that will actually format it for Kindle for you and format it for CreateSpace. CreateSpace, and both of these versions are actually companies that Amazon runs. Amazon does Kindle and Amazon does CreateSpace. There's another company out there, another website called bookbaby.com. That's another place where you'd upload your content for your book, and they'll actually they work with other retailers, both really sort of brick and mortar retailers as well as online retailers. So bookbaby.com, amazon.ca if you're in Canada, amazon.com if you're in the US, or go to your country's Amazon, and that's where you're actually going to upload the contents. So you've got the edited version. You're sending it off now to somebody on Fiverr to get it formatted for the appropriate website, whether it be Kindle, which is the electronic version of the book. CreateSpace is where you can actually get the printed version of the book created. So when somebody buys on Amazon the printed book to get shipped to them, it's actually printed on demand. So you need to have the files ready so that when Amazon needs to print a book, that they just upload the files, your book gets printed, created, and then sent out to that particular person. They don't create your books and stock them in a warehouse. It's basically CreateSpace's print on demand in a lot of cases. And what I tend to do is I'll actually order, say, 50 of my books at a time, get them shipped to me, so that I always have books on hand to either give out, sell at trade shows, or sell at different events. So you're getting your outsourcers to create the format for you. So now let's say you picked the winning selection for your cover design, and you've got them to create the CreateSpace, create the Kindle version. You have your outsourcer that's created taken the content and actually edited. It's been edited, and you actually want to create it for the specific formats, whether it be Kindle or CreateSpace or BookBaby. So you have it in the right format now. So now what you need to do is you need to go on to Amazon and BookBaby and actually create an account. And it's a very quick and easy process. It's just signing up for an account to be an author. And then all you do is actually you take the files that you've been sent from your outsourcers. So the Kindle file, the CreateSpace file, the cover layouts. You just send information. And all you do is just, there's a browse to upload the file. You click on the button, it goes to your computer, shows you all the files, and you just select the file, you upload it, and it's just that easy. Really, it is just that easy. So this entire process I did in 11 days. However, I didn't dictate into my phone and then get it transcribed. I actually, for my second book, I actually wrote all the content and created all the content myself. And then I sent it to an editor, had a couple of rounds of editing done. And while that was happening, I was getting my, so I multitasked. I was getting multiple things done all at the same time because I knew I wanted to get it out very quickly. So after I wrote the book, while it was being edited, I was getting the cover done. And while that was being done, I was creating my accounts up on Amazon. And then I threw up just a one-page website just so I could actually drive people to the website to buy the book, the Kindle version. And as incentive, I actually offered them some resources that went along with the book as free downloads if they actually bought the book at that particular time. So now, in order to be a best-selling author, I needed the strategy. Oh, when you're picking your book, just back to Amazon, when you're uploading your book, you actually have to create or put them in categories. So what category best fits your book? So you need to do some research on the categories themselves, and you need to find the categories that are the most appropriate for your book, but at the same time does not take a lot of sales to be #1 bestseller. So basically how you determine that is you go to a category and you look at the #1 best-selling book, and from there you're able to gauge if that category is going to be too tough to become #1 or not. So you can tell a lot just by doing a little bit of research in the categories themselves and determine which category you want to place your book in. It wants to be in something relevant for sure, but you also want to, if you have a choice of 2-3 different categories, you want to put it in the category where you have a better chance of reaching #1 without selling as many books. Okay, so that's during the setup process of Amazon when you're setting up your account. So the next thing is planning the strategy of getting everybody to buy your book at one time. So prior to launching it on Amazon, when it's ready to go live, let's say, for example, we're going to launch it next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be the launch. So you have all the files, you're ready to upload it to Amazon. So you want to launch it next Tuesday. So what you want to do is you want to start marketing to your existing database, your list, your friends, your family, say, hey, I'm going to launch my book. I'm going to make it for sale. And you want to make it for sale on a Kindle version only for 99 cents. So when you release your book, only release the Kindle version first, and then you release the hard copy or the paper copy later. So you want to get as much momentum, drive as much traffic, get as many people as possible ready and ramped up and excited for the launch of your book, which is going to take place on next Tuesday. So you're sending out constant emails, you're doing Facebook posts, you're going live on Facebook, you're doing Instagram posts, you're doing videos on Instagram, you're tweeting, any social media possible, you're doing that, Snapchatting, and just on a regular, consistent, persistent basis, every single day, you're hitting every single platform, multiple times a day, just driving as much traffic as you can, gearing people up for the launch of your book. And it could even be the pre-launch, meaning that your book's not completed, but you're launching it anyway. Amazon allows you to do a pre-launch where you just have to have the content done within 60 days, I think, after the actual launch. So there's a time frame there. So you're gearing up and you're getting everybody ramped up and generating as much interest as possible, as much momentum, as much excitement as possible, so that when your book is launched on Amazon, you have as many people going and buying it as possible for the 99-cent Kindle version. Because what Amazon is tracking is the number of people buying it over a 24-hour period, and that's how they determine their ranking. So what will happen is when it first launches, probably not even going to be recognized in your category, but depending upon your category will determine, you'll go back in on an hourly basis to see how your book is doing, and depends on the number of people you can actually drive to to Amazon to buy your book, or what category you put it in. You can have it actually as a #1 bestseller in the first hour or 2 hours. Now, some friends of mine were just doing a book launch, and it took them till 12, 14 hours before he actually reached #1. He was in a very difficult category. It took him close to 14 hours before he's actually got to that #1 level, and that was through constant promotion through all the social medias, friends, family, previous contacts, previous clients, just generating as much as possible, trying to get people to buy that book for 99 cents so that he can actually, Amazon will recognize him as a #1 bestseller. So all he actually has to do is get his book to, I'm just going to pull up on the screen here, so just bear with me. You just have to get your book to this particular level so that it shows as actually the #1 bestseller. You see that #1 bestseller in the orange sort of ribbon, and it's showing as #1 bestseller. So that's all you need is to be able to take a snapshot of that, and now you're recognized as an Amazon #1 bestseller. So how many copies do you have to sell in order for that to happen? Well, that really determines on the category you put it in, and that's really the biggest determining factor, is what the category is. So that is sort of in a nutshell how you can actually become an Amazon #1 best-selling author in 14 days or less. Like I said, I've done it in 11 days. I know people in the programs that I was in at the time did it. There's several people actually did it in 14 days or less. My coach at the time, I think he did it even quicker than I did, 9 days, maybe 10, I'm not sure. But it's really about using the resources, the outsourcers, and having them do the majority of the work. All you have to do is just sort of understand the overall strategy of the book, because the overall strategy is to get people to come to the conclusion that they need to work with you, or they need to buy your product, your service, your coaching, whatever it is. And you need to understand your ideal target market, their pains, fears, frustrations, ambitions, and how your solution helps them. If you understand all of that, there's a couple of different ways you can go with the content. Well, there's actually more than a couple different ways, but two of the easiest ways are the 10 most frequently asked questions and the 10 should ask questions and the answers. And that'll create the content, and then using as many personal stories or as many actual real life stories in those questions as examples of very specific situations. And another way is because you know what the main problem people have is when it comes to what you offer, then you need to elaborate on the benefits, what benefits they're going to receive. by using your product or service, and wrap that right around the problem. And also, what are the objections that you get on a regular basis, and frame those as myths. So the 3 myths and the 5 benefits, and there you have basically 8 chapters right there. Then you have an intro, and you have sort of the last chapter as a call to action. So that's, in a nutshell, how you can actually create the content. And I see Leona left me a message. Hey Leona, I'm not sure if you're still on or not, but thanks for joining me. So we're talking about how to become a best-selling author in 14 days or less. And so that is the strategy on how you can actually do it, and sort of how you create the content. Now, if you want to know more, if you have specific questions, you can just leave them in the comment field, and I'll be happy to help you out. If you want to get started on a book and you're just not sure, the Authority Acceleration Program, we actually work with you and actually help you create the book. It's part of the actual program, part of the actual formula, the 110-100 formula that I created is, and you'll actually have a book done in that in the time frame using that 110-100 formula, and you don't actually have to. The book is already mapped out for you within that, and you're creating the content over the time, and it actually gets turned into a book for you. So if you're interested in any of those programs or any of those services, definitely just send me a message. Go to leave it on the Facebook here, or go to email it at john@johnanthonymccabe.com. Like I said, a lot of the objections I hear when it comes to people saying that they can't be number one, or they can't be an author, is they think they have to be an expert in their field, and that's not the case. Most people that are recognized as experts aren't the smartest people in the field. They're just people that have done a very good job at positioning themselves as the authority in their field. And you can do the exact same thing by becoming a number 1 best-selling author. So you don't have to be the expert or the authority actually in the field to be positioned as the number 1 as the authority. You just have to position yourself, and one of the fastest way to do that is become a number 1 best-selling author. Another objection is people say, I don't know how to write a book, or I've never written a book, I don't even know where to start. And like I said, you don't actually have to even write. I barely passed English in high school, barely squeaked by the one class I had to take in university, creative writing class. So I'm firsthand that you actually don't even have to be able to write. You just have to be able to dictate into your phone. You have to be able to answer questions about your product or service and send those transcriptions, and be able to use outsourcers on like Fiverr.com, for example, and have them transcribe your audio, and then piece it together. Then you piece it together, send it to an editor or a couple different editors, couple rounds of editing, and you get people to create your book cover for you, and then you just upload it to Amazon BookBaby, and there you're best. And then you have a strategy to get people to buy it all at the same time, and there, next thing you know, you're number 1 best-selling author in 1 or 2 different countries. It's just that easy. So if anyone has any specific questions, definitely now's the time to let me know. Just keeping my eye on the time here. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, how to become a best-selling author in 14 days or less. As I mentioned, if you're just joining us, my production assistant, Margaret, is her hiatus is up, and now she's gone back to her regular job. So I'm trying to run the show at the same time as hosting it. So if I do seem distracted, that's the reason why. But I want to thank you guys for joining me on how to become a best-selling author in 14 days or less on today's version of the John A. McCabe Show. And today's show was a coaching show, and unfortunately the guest that I had lined up for today had to go for emergency dental surgery, so at the last minute I had to step in and create some content or talk about a specific topic. But if you're interested in knowing more on how to become a best-selling author, or actually what the process is, or you'd like to use that strategy to position yourself as the expert or the authority, and you're not quite sure where to get started, just send me a message on Facebook, or private message me, or send an email to john@johnamccabe.com, and I'll definitely get back to you. We can talk a little bit more about the process, how it all works, and if it's the right fit for you or not, and how your business can actually benefit by you becoming a #1 best-selling author. And I can tell you from experience, it definitely positions you as the authority in your marketplace. It gets you in a lot of doors that you normally wouldn't get into. It gets you on media that normally you won't get into. Gets you into meetings that you have a hard time getting into. And it just helps in selling more products, more services, and offer more solutions and help more people when it comes to your industry and what it is that you actually do. So if nobody has any questions, then what I'd like to do is I'd like to end today's show with a big thank you to everybody who's joined in and been a part of today's show. All about 5 key steps to producing, publishing, and profiting from becoming a #1 best-selling author. And not only can you make money by selling the books, but you sell your products or services, and you can also do some speaking, and that will also actually get you more money, more revenue. You can build digital products. You can make more money that way as well. So there's a variety of different ways that you can actually make more money by using this solution, so using this strategy. So it definitely works. It's been proven time and time again, and it's relatively easy once you understand the process. And if you're not quite sure, then get connected with somebody that's actually gone through it. Find a coach, consultant, somebody that can actually help you through the process, or even do the process for you. As part of the Authority Acceleration program, we have programs where we actually help and create the book for the client in such a way that their involvement is really just answering questions or being interviewed, so that we can get the content that we need in order to create the books for them, and we would do all the work. So if that's something that interests you, definitely get back in touch with me and let us know. But for today, Thursday, that's going to be it for the John A. McCabe Show. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and hope to see you guys tomorrow on the next show. Tomorrow is the Anything Goes show, so I hope you join me. And in closing, I just want to say thank you very much for joining the show, and I'm going to leave you with the new intro in case you missed it. This is the new intro to the show. I'm just going to close out the show with the same intro, and I want to thank you guys very much for joining me. Have yourselves an amazing day. And sorry, I'm trying to run the computer and talk to you at the same time. Hey, it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show.